is Lou Ann Pygott. You are in my kitchen on this Sunday morning, and I am going to make a recipe that I've actually made before. So this has turned out to be one of my favorites, and I've shared this with my parents as one of their favorites as well. So it's kind of gotten to be a favorite all around. It is called cinnamon apple cake. I got it from a website called 12 Tomatoes. I don't know why it's called 12 Tomatoes. There's no tomatoes in it. But this is a cinnamon apple cake. It is really good. It makes one cake layer, like it's almost like the size of half a cake. So if you just want a small cake, this is just perfect. If you want more, just double the recipe. So we are going to start, and we're going to mix together 2 eggs. Let me get my little bowl here. Hold on. I like to do this because I always make a mess with eggs. I always like to put like a little bowl down on a napkin. And then I'm going to always crack the egg and check it. Make sure it's good. Put it in our mixer. That's 1. I usually leave eggs out to be room temperature about half an hour or so. They say you should do that. I honestly haven't noticed it makes any difference, but I do it. As it says to. Okay, there we go. I got a little dribble down the side here somehow. Okay, there we are. Throw away my eggshells. Okay, so then we're going to mix it. Let's go ahead and mix those eggs together a little bit by themselves. Then it says we're going to mix it with oil. Okay, so we're going to put in here 1 cup of oil. Let me find my measuring cup here. So we're going to measure 1 cup of oil. And I'm using canola oil. You can use... It doesn't specify a kind of oil, so you can use whatever oil you like to put in cakes. This makes it super, super moist. Anytime you use oil, it will be a really, really moist cake. Here, let's do that so you can see both the bowl and my counter. So let's put the oil in there. I usually let it sit there for a minute. If it'll balance, to let it drain. Okay, so then we're going to have... we're going to add the cinnamon and the sugars after that. So let me go ahead and measure. We're going to need a cup of dark brown sugar. There we go. I don't usually have dark brown sugar, but it calls for that in this recipe. If you don't have dark brown sugar, you could use light brown. I just think the dark brown will give it a lot more flavor. It's so good. Got a really rich dark flavor, this cake. So I'm just taking it out of the bag here, pressing it in there. You want to press dark sugar down. I think this is going to be like the exact right amount that's left in here. Look at that. How convenient. Okay, so let's put that there. Don't even have to open a new one. Just use what's left in the old one. We're going to put the cup of... Oh, I didn't mix those together yet. Let's mix the oil and the egg. So then we're going to mix in a cup of brown sugar, dark brown sugar. Then we are going to mix in half a cup of white sugar. There we go, half a cup of white sugar. The cinnamon is a tablespoon of cinnamon. That's a nice hefty amount of cinnamon. Let me get the cinnamon. I gotta find my measuring spoons though. Where are they? Here they are. So that is the same 3 teaspoons. And my tablespoon thing won't fit down in here, so let's just do 3 teaspoons. 1, 2, 3. There's our cinnamon. And vanilla. Oh man, that smells good with that cinnamon. The vanilla is a teaspoon of vanilla. This is really, really, really quick and easy to make too. Okay, there we got that. Then we are going to add the dry ingredients. So we're going to add 2 cups of flour. Back there. And then we'll measure our cups back together. All right, 2 cups of flour. That's my flour. So you want to take your flour and lighten your flour so it's not packed. So take a whisk. I do this every time I use flour. Instead of sifting, take a whisk and just stir it in your flour, and it will lighten it all up so it's not packed anymore, and it will measure it more accurately. There you go. The drawer doesn't want to close back. Okay, so I'm going to take my 2-cup measure, and I love this thing. So easy to do it in one swoop. Okay, here we go. I'm going to take a knife and I'll level it off. There we are. 2 cups of flour. Then we're going to take a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Okay, baking powder. Half a teaspoon of baking soda. Then we're going to take a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So here's my salt. I always put it through my little sifter because I have rice in there so it doesn't get damp. Alright, so it doesn't clump. So there's all our dry ingredients. Now we're going to mix that. Start off slowly so you don't get a bath in flour. Okay, so it's pretty thick and gooey, this batter. Real nice and thick and gooey. Okay, so then I'm going to add, now this calls for a cup of or 1/2 cup rather of walnuts. It's optional. I hate nuts, so we don't do that. So what I'm going to put in here instead of walnuts is I'm going to put 1/2 cup of raisins because we all like raisins. So instead of nuts, you could actually put both nuts and raisins if you wanted. But the recipe doesn't call for raisins, but it's really good with raisins if you like raisins. So I'm putting in the raisins instead of walnuts. Okay, so if you want some walnuts, just chop 1/2 cup of walnuts to put in. Okay, so we're going to put those in. Mix that for a minute. It's mixed around. We're done with that. We're going to move this over here. And now, the last thing you're going to put in here is one Granny Smith apple that's been peeled and chopped. So here's my apple. I just get one apple at the store. And then I'm going to peel my apple. You can use a peeler, you can use a knife, however you like to peel. Let's peel. Like a nice good apple. I like to use Granny Smith apples because they don't turn to mush when you bake. They're good baking apples, whether you're making pie or whatever you're making. So here's my peel. I always like to do this. It's a little silly. It's fun. I've done this since I was a kid. So Mom told me when they were young, if you could peel your apple in one long peeling, you take the peeling and you throw it over your shoulder. And whatever letter it looks like is the letter, the first name of the letter of your future husband. Okay, so are you ready? I do this every time. I'm going to throw this over my shoulder. All right, let's see what it looks like. Hold on. Oh dear, that looks like no letter. Oh well, let's do this. It looks like a fancy W with the curly Q. So we got the curly Q and a W. Oh, let's go with that. Or maybe, maybe it's a fancy M. Curly Q with M. No, I don't think it's an M. Let's go with W with the fancy curly Q. So if you are out there and you're a man and you are my age and you're a good godly Christian husband and you're not married and you're looking for a wife and your name starts with W with a fancy curly Q, maybe you are the man for me. No, I don't believe in that. That's silly. But it's fun. It's something silly to do. Okay. Let me pick my husband up off the floor. Hold on. Okay. So let's chop our apple. I haven't had that work yet. Last time it was something else. Last time it was a different letter. My husband keeps changing. Okay. Actually, maybe it should have been a 0. Of course, that would have been an O. I would have said O. Okay, so let's cut this. And we're going to get out the core. And then we're just going to chop this in pieces. It does not tell you how big. So, you get to decide. I figured out it kind of doesn't matter. It's going to bake. It's going to be good, even if you make big chunks of apple or tiny. Or I kind of like it a little big, so you know it's there. I mean, you don't want to chop this like microscopic, or it's like you might not know it's there. Okay, there we go. Just cutting out the core here. And this is going to be our dessert today. I haven't made this one in a while, and it is so good. This is really good with tea, or if you drink coffee. You would love this with coffee. I don't drink coffee because I don't like it, but I think so many people do. So if you like coffee, this would be really, really a good coffee cake. All right, so I'm going to cut that in fourths, and then just chop it in pieces. See, I'm cutting it about like that. Like I said, I don't really think it matters. Just cut. Cut it in little bite-sized chunks. Nice, they're nice crispy apples. And I think these are tart apples also, so I think it's kind of good that, you know, you don't really need it sweeter. This cake is plenty sweet. Doesn't need icing at all. So you don't really need a sweet apple either. So a nice tart apple works well. guess you could sprinkle some brown sugar on this cake if you had to have something, but you really don't need it. It is really sweet, as is. You do not need icing. So that's another thing about this cake that makes it real super, super easy. I just love this little cutting board, and then I run out of room. It's like my favorite little thing. I need one just a tiny bit bigger. Okay, so there I'm going to take all these apples. I'm going to dump them in there. It is just one big apple. And this will make it look, this is going to look like I have more apple than batter. So when I first made this, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of apple. Can't hardly see the batter now. Turns out great, though. Trust me, it's good. So there we go, mixed in. A whole lot of apple. So then we're going to take a 9-inch, round pan. If you use an 8-inch, most cake pans are 8-inch. If you use an 8-inch, it's going to take longer to bake, and what'll happen is it'll get a little bit of too brown on the outside before it gets done on the inside. So if you don't have a 9-inch pan, go get one. Go get one. Them at Walmart. In the wedding aisle, the aisle where they have like wedding stuff, they have cake pans. This is it's either I think it's a knockoff, but it's like a Wilton cake pan. If you've ever heard of Wilton, they're the kind of cake pans, and they're not terribly expensive. They're the kind that you can use to make like wedding cake layers. They have straight edges. Then you spray your pan. If you want to remove it from the pan, I would put down wax paper, but I'm gonna serve it from the pan. So if you're serving it from the pan, you do not need to put wax paper, because you're not going to be like taking it out of the pan as a whole cake. So then I'm cleaning off my beater here. This is really sticky, this dough. Really thicky and sticky. So I'm just pushing it all off of the beater. Try to get all my batter in here, and then we're just going to scrape it in there. Then we're going to bake it at 350 for 45 minutes. And then it says let it cool for 15 minutes before you serve. At least 15 minutes. It will be longer than that before we get to eat it. But you need to let any cake you bake rest at least 10 to 15 minutes before you try to get it out of the pan, or it will just fall apart. Because it needs to sit there and kind of solidify, I guess. Alright, there you go. Let me put this over here in the sink. Get the batter off my hands. Okay, I've already got my oven on 350. Let me get a scraper here. I used this one. I bought this one recently. It's a little firmer. I kind of like this. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it scrapes really well. And this is like, I mean, it's just like real thick. So it doesn't pour. This will not pour. So you just have to glop it into there and spread it out. It's almost like dough. More than batter. We're getting there. We're gaining on it here. Comes right off of this scraper. That's interesting. Silicone one. Okay, here we go. We're at the end. It scrapes out of here really cleanly. Then we're going to take and spread it out evenly in our pan, and we're going to put it in our oven, and we're going to be done with this for now. And I'm going to come back. Well, I'm going to go do my makeup, and then we will come back, and I'm going to do some roasted vegetables, oven roasted vegetables. I hardly ever do that, and I don't know why, because they are so good. I ought to do it more often. And they're good for you too. Nice healthy stuff. Okay, let me get that off of there. Okay, so there's our cake batter ready to go. Got more stuff on my hands. All right, and into the oven we go. We're going to set our timer for 45 minutes. And then you just test it to see with a toothpick to see if it's done. Okay, thank you for joining me. Here is the recipe. Right there. And you have a very blessed day and try you some good cake. Bye.